But I can only get 4, because I've got boys as well, so they don't play with dolls, but I have to like borrow these, so will you two be okay just to share? Is that alright? That's for you.
I think mine's got a fracture. It clicks.
Right, so as I said, by the end of the lesson, you should be able to just undertake a simple check of a baby. So if you took a baby home, you could look at it and think, oh, that actually doesn't look quite right. And I just want to make you aware by the end of what is normal, because you might think that it's not, but it actually turns out that it is quite normal. So when a newborn baby is born, within 72 hours of it being born, a qualified midwife or paediatrician will do a complete head-to-toe check and look more into depth into everything. But, you know, as a parent or a granddad or, you know, a sister, brother, you can just do your own little checks at home. So what we do is we start from the head of the doll. So just imagine that it is a real baby, but it's not crying and it's really good. And what we do is we check for the head and we're just looking. Now a baby has a soft spot here and a soft spot at the back there. Now the one on the top of the head can close up to 18 months, and the one at the back of the head takes about 6 months to close up. So if you're feeling a baby's head and you think, oh my gosh, what's that? It's like really soft, it's quite normal. Sometimes you can get a baby whose head's quite sunken, and that is not normal, but that can be a sign of dehydration. So if you see it really sunken, it's just a sign that the baby's dehydrated. So even though they can't communicate with you, they're quite, you know, the signs and symptoms are quite there to let you know things. When you move down to a baby's eyes, now a lot of babies when they're first born, obviously because they've done no crying, and when they come into the world they start to cry, their tear ducts can get blocked, but also this can be mistaken for sometimes they get blocked and can get infected. So sometimes they can like leak discharge. So if you do this, it's important that when you do clean it, you use cool boiled water and you use a separate bit of cotton wool each time you wipe, obviously so you don't pass on infection, and you just wipe from the nose to the ear and you put that in the bin and you get a clean piece and then you do it again and you just repeat it throughout the day. When you're looking in a baby's mouth, whether the baby is breastfed or whether it's bottle fed, they can have white tongues and it looks quite bitty. Now sometimes if it's just milk, if you just use your finger, just a clean finger, and wipe the tongue, you can wipe it off if it's milk. But if it's something called thrush, then it will stay on the tongue, and obviously then that's when you need to look at someone looking at the baby. Obviously, does everyone know where an umbilical cord goes on a baby? Yeah, do you know? Yeah? See, everyone does know. So it's just here, and obviously you have about that much of it left on a baby once a baby's been born, and obviously the cord's been clamped and everything from birth. And it has like a little blue peg on it, and when you put a nappy on, you have to fold the nappy over because the cord has to fall off on its own. You can't like be tempted to pick it or anything like that, even though it is really tempting when it's hanging by a thread. And they normally fall off between 5 to 10 days. Some people keep them in a little box, but they can be a bit smelly, and obviously the cord turns black because it's normally an oxygen source for the baby, and obviously once the oxygen source is cut, it's not there anymore. So then obviously you move down to the baby's bits, and obviously, you know, check to make sure that it's got all its bits. Sometimes in boys, they can maybe take up to about 9 months for a boy's testicles to both be down. So sometimes you might not like have a feel, but I mean, you know, you might just be checking and think, oh, that doesn't feel quite right. So it is quite normal for a boy to maybe have 2 that are up here and not in place where they should be, or just have 1. But obviously that all gets picked up. It's also very normal for a female newborn baby to have little mini periods. So you could open the nappy and she could have a bit of spotting blood in there, and that is completely normal. So you wouldn't need to panic and go, oh, she's bleeding. it's quite normal for a female to have that. And also males and females can have something in their nappy that's called urates, and it looks like brick dust. That's what it looks like. It just looks like someone's broken a brick and the excess of it's gone in their nappy, and that is normal. It's just all their hormone changes from being inside the womb to being in the new environment and everything just coming out of their system. It is expected that a newborn baby does at least 6 wet nappies in a 24-hour period. If it's less than 6, then obviously it could be another sign of dehydration because it's not being fed enough, or it's not taking the right food, or something might quite not be working inside. Obviously their bowels is less frequent than that, and I don't know if you know that when a baby's first born and it takes its first poo, what colour it is. Does anybody know?
Black.
Right, yeah.
No.
Greeny black.
No. Do you know?
Pink.
It's like
Yeah, well,
it's like, imagine tarmac on a road. Tarmac on a road, it is like that, and it feels, you wipe it and it is just sticky like tarmac. And then it changes to what Tristan said, and then it goes like from blacky green to green, and then it goes to yellow, and then it starts looking like korma. And if it's breastfed, it will just be bitty, and if it's bottle fed, it'll be more like toothpaste, coming out of a tube of toothpaste, but they change colour, and the final colour they get to is like a yellowy colour. We normally say that babies should be fed every 3 to 4 hours, obviously by breastfeeding or bottle feeding. It is acceptable for a newborn baby to go at least 1 6-hour period in a 24-hour not to be fed, you know, hopefully at night time. Also, when you're putting a baby to bed at night, does anybody know how you would position a baby in a cot or a Moses basket? Anybody, any ideas? Would you just put the baby in and wrap it up?
Done.
You have to make sure that when you're placing the baby in the Moses basket or the cot, that their feet are right at the bottom. So obviously if you've got this big massive cot and you've got this tiny baby, the baby's feet need to be at the bottom of the cot. Because even though they're newborn, they can still wriggle about and they can still move up, and covers can go over them and things can fall on them, and it's just one of the safety things that we recommend. Obviously it's not advised to like co-sleep with a baby, because you could get into a deep sleep and, you know, roll over without realising, and they're only tiny and you can squash them. Yeah, so it is just a normal check that you probably wouldn't even ever think about before, but once you've got a baby and you see something, and I see it all the time with like new mums, and they go, oh, you know, my baby's got this, what is it? And they panic until they can get hold of someone, and when they actually get hold of someone, it's actually quite normal. You know, babies get little spots on their skin, and it's a rash, and people think straight away, oh, it's meningitis. But it's not, it's just they've been in such a confined space in darkness for 9 months, and they come into this new environment where they're getting poked and prodded, and all this air, all this like products that's being used on them, because everyone likes to bath their newborn babies in Johnson's, and you know, they get like newborn spots, which again is normal. If they had heads on them, then, you know, if you had that's just not quite normal. I'm just going to ask, it's just been like I've been talking at you, and if I had a real baby, it would be easy for me to start going all like this, and, you know, checking this and checking down here and checking the cord, checking the bits, but it's really hard. I just wanted you to like look, visualise a baby by me putting it in front of you, so that you could just try and see what I was trying to talk about. I'm just going to ask 2 questions, just to see if you've like understood it. Even if you understand this, at least you just took something away. Can anyone tell me what your rate says, what it looks like?
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well done. And the next question is, how many wet nappies is it normal for a baby to have in a day, at least?
6.
Yeah, well done. So, my objectives were just to give you an overview of a normal check of a baby and to recognise some signs that might not quite be normal. So I'm hoping that I've managed to do that. Has anybody got any questions?
Yeah, how long do your rates last? How long is that goodness?
It normally takes from obviously being born to about up to a week for all the hormone change to take place. Because girls and boys all have swollen nipples as well. You'll feel their nipples and they've got like lumps on them. But it's all just that, you know, when they're born they've got everything to do with the mother. They've got the mother's blood, they've got the mother's hormones. And then once they hit the environment and take their own breath, then their hormones start coming out and they come out when they're wees and poos. Anybody else want to know anything? It's just interesting for everyday life, you know?
Yeah.
It's just something like, you might just think one day, in a couple of years, you might think, oh, I remember someone talking about this, I know what that is, and they'll think, how the heck did you know that? But yeah, so that's it. But you can keep them sheets, you know, do whatever, but it's just an overview really. It's not an in-depth check of a baby, it's just something that we, as parents and friends, can do ourselves. Alright?
Brilliant.